This article consists of nothing but Gotham Season 4 Episode 1 spoilers. For those of you who don't know, every season we dig into every episode of Gotham, hunting for Batman and DC Comics Easter eggs. Let's get right down to business. Click the blue titles to go to our reviews. Gotham Season 4 Episode 1, Pax Penguin. Ah yes. We start with an iconic shot of Bruce Wayne prowling the rooftops. Things seem to be getting really Bat-centric as we began the new season. You know, it's funny, with all the success that DC had with Superboy in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you would think someone somewhere would have suggested Batboy, The Adventures of Bruce Wayne before he was Batman. Heck, the same production company that did Adventures of Superman in the 1950s even produced an Adventures of Superboy pilot in 1961, showing that the idea of a young hero was all the rage back in the day. I guess we can consider this season of Gotham the premiere Adventures of Batboy? I know in my head I will. Do we even need to point out the shape of Bruce Wayne's mask? It sure looks Batman-y. The ending of the episode saw Bruce Wayne's first skylight crash. Of course, Bruce plunging through the skylight echoes the famous skylight rescue in 1989's Batman and Batman's attack on the GCPD and Batman Begins, which itself was a homage to a similar skylight jump in Batman, Year One. So it was a nice touch for Bruce Wayne to botch his first experience with the skylight. Speaking of Batman, Year One, Bruce Wayne crashing to the ground during one of his first vigilante excursions is similar to his disastrous first free Batman outing in Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's classic, where Bruce ended up getting his ass handed to him. Points awarded to Gotham for finally doing the Bruce Wayne disappearing on Jim Gordon gimmick that has been in the comics for generations. In my recent article on the history of the Scarecrow, which you can read here, I commented on how Steve Buscemi was connected to role of Scarecrow for an unrealized fifth Batman film in the film series that began with Batman in 1989. I commented how awesome Buscemi could have been as Jonathan Crane, but alas, it was not meant to be. But this week on Gotham we get to see Steve's brother Michael as Merton, the leader of the Fear Gas Gang during Scarecrow's live-action TV debut. How almost prescient of me. The Iceberg Lounge first appeared in DC Comics continuity in Detective Comics number 683, 1995, by Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan. The premiere of the Iceberg Lounge was a pretty important moment because it marked a transition for the Penguin as the corpulent criminal went from a semi-harmless gimmicky crook to a dangerous, noir-laden figure of the Gotham underworld. With the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin was on his way to being taken seriously as a real bat rogue. And no, in the comics, there was not a Riddler centerpiece jazzing up the Penguin stakes. Gotham Season 4 Episode 2, Fear the Reaper. Man, the Scarecrow costume used in Gotham is freaking badass, isn't it? When Scarecrow first appeared way back in World's Finest Comics number 3 1941, the future Master of Fear used mundane weapons to terrorize Gotham City. Jonathan Crane didn't use his signature fear gas until Scarecrow reappeared in the Silver Age. But in Gotham, Scarecrow goes right for the iconic sweet spot and is gassing them first left and right. How did I never notice that Barbara Keene called her club, the joint that is now Penguin's Iceberg Lounge, the Siren Club? This week, the return to life Barbara, and is this the work of Ra's al Ghul? Tried to ally herself with Selina and Tabitha. Of course, Ivy wanted in on the act as well, so you can sort of declare that this impromptu gathering of fatales could be the first get-together of the Gotham City Sirens. In the comics, the Sirens consist of Selina, Ivy, and Harley Quinn, but as Barbara's former club's name suggests, Barbara's call to arms could have been the first meeting of the Proto-Sirens. The Arkham Warden that gets gassed by Scarecrow this week has a fear of clowns. I mean, other than bats, is there a worse thing to be terrified of in Gotham City than clowns? I guess old Warden haha did not enjoy Stephen King's It, huh? He certainly donned some spot-on Joker makeup to take on Gordon, though. I've really loved how Gotham has established the Joker more as a citywide curse rather than a single individual. I'm sure Jerome would argue with that take though. We too get to witness Bruce Wayne suit up in his first Lucius Fox original. Of course, when Bruce gets older, Lucius will supply all his gear and tech. The scenes this week were echoes of the Fox scenes in Batman Begins as Gotham continues to pull from all corners of the multimedia Bat Empire. Gotham Season 4 Episode 3, Those Who Hide Behind Masks. Quite a rare treat to get a Ra's al Ghul flashback. Gotham is always very particular to its setting, so seeing a legit Ra's al Ghul flashback was really unexpected and welcome. Heck man, Gotham is leaning way more into the immortal thing than either the Dark Knight trilogy or Arrow ever did. As good as the Dark Knight and Arrow versions of Ra's al Ghul were, this use of flashback really brought the character closer to the original Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams version of the character. Sophia Falcone first appeared in Batman, The Long Halloween #6. 1997, by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Gotham's Sophia seems very eager to take over the Gotham City underworld. In the comic book, Sophia felt the same way. Sophia appeared in both Long Halloween and its sequel Dark Victory, and I really don't want to spoil things here, but the comic version of Sophia was so much more than a power-hungry femme fatale. Let's just say for now that if Gotham's Sophia is anything like the DC Universe's Sophia, things should get very violent and interesting on Gotham very shortly. Things got pretty James Bond-y in this episode, huh? With Gordon journeying to an exotic local and wooing Carmen Falcone's even more exotic daughter. Even some of the musical cues this week just screamed 007. All this is pretty appropriate since Ra's al Ghul has always been the DC Universe's answer to a classic Bond villain. We get to see Selina Kyle don a mask for the first time this week. Honestly, with that mask and leather outfit, young Selina looked like she just stepped off a Darwin Cook drawing. We also got to see Bruce Wayne step into his vapid billionaire disguise for the first time this week as the adventures of Batboy continues. Who else was waiting for Bruce Wayne to introduce himself as Matches Malone when he donned the street kid disguise? Of course, Matches has long been Bruce's faux criminal identity that he uses to infiltrate the Gotham underworld. Of course, a few seasons back, Bruce met a hitman named Matches Malone that may or may not have killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. I'm going with not, but it would be nice to revisit the Matches thread sometime. Gotham Season 4 Episode 4, The Demon's Head. This isn't the first time that good old Enigma has suffered a debilitating brain injury that caused a cognitive impairment. In DC's classic crossover Infinite Crisis, the Riddler was themed on the coconut by the Shining Knight's mace. The Shining Knight is a time-lost knight from Camelot and just awesome. At that point, Riddler suffered a brain injury and decided that villainy was just too dangerous. But Enigma was still compelled to test his intellect against Batman, so Riddler opened his own detective agency in Gotham City and tried to solve crimes before Batman could. For real, Gotham can get a whole season out of this story direction. Think about it. Riddler PI, I'd be all over that. The Riddler is a brain-damaged detective storyline played out in a whole bunch of Paul Dini Batman comic stories in the mid-2000s, too. Meanwhile, how has Shining Knight not appeared on Legends of Tomorrow yet? Victor Zsasz is consistently a high point on Gotham, and it's amazing that he's also one of the funniest characters on the show. I mean, in the comics Zsasz is a dead serious, horrific Hannibal Lecter riff that cuts himself for every victim he murders. Comic Zsasz really has no personality beyond his bloodlust, which makes him terrifying. But TV Zsasz is a hoot and a half. You have to wonder if there is ever going to be a transition into the ice-hearted Zsasz from the comics. Gotham Season 4 Episode 5, The Blade's Path, which we now know as Cyrus Gold, finally becomes Solomon Grundy this week. Some fans might be surprised to learn that Solomon Grundy started out as a villain not of Batman, but of the Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott. The 1940s Green Lantern adventures took place in Gotham City, although it never crossed over with Batman, so having Grundy appear on TV's Gotham is appropriate. Plus, Batman has kind of adopted Grundy into his rogues gallery pretty much since Batman, The Long Halloween. Solomon Grundy first appeared in All-American Comics number 61, 1944, and was created by Alfred Bester and Paul Riemann. The classic Grundy origin is kind of similar to the one that played out on Gotham. In the comics, Cyrus Gold was a murdered gangster that was brought back to life in Slaughter Swamp. Taking the name Solomon Grundy, Gold became a persistent foe of the original Green Lantern and Lantern's team, the Justice Society of America. You see, the original GL's weakness was wood and Grundy was made up of plant matter, so Alan Scott's ring was all but useless against the unstoppable swamp zombie. When the JSA family of characters came back in the Silver Age, Grundy came with him, becoming a constant foe of the entire DC pantheon of heroes. Grundy has had many classic appearances in Swamp Thing and also appeared as member of the Legion of Doom on the 1970s classic Saturday morning animated staple, Challenge of the Super Friends. Cyrus Gold also appeared on an early episode of Arrow but was never explicitly identified as Solomon Grundy. Speaking of Super Friends, the Riddler was also a member of the Legion of Doom, so seeing these two team up really appealed to my inner 5-year-old. So is stabbing Ra's al Ghul the reason Bruce Wayne swears off killing? Gotham Season 4 Episode 6, Hog Day Afternoon, Professor Pig first appeared in, suitably, Batman number 666, July 2007, and was created by Grant Morrison and Andy Kubert. Pig is one of Batman's most horrific villains and would really feel right at home in a Blumhouse film. Other than being mind-numbingly horrific, there is also some classism in regards to Professor Pig. Morrison's inspiration for Pig came from the classic Pygmalion, a play about transforming someone into an idealized state. Of course, Professor Pig's concept of an idealized state for his victims is a masked, genderless automaton called a Galatron. So, yikes, Pig first encountered the Dick Grayson version of Batman in the Damian Wayne version of Robin, and has been a constant presence in the Batverse since his first bloody appearance. Gotham presents a scaled-back version of Professor Pig, but it is still unsettling. In the comics, Pig usually teams up with another murderous nightmare called Mr. Toad, so maybe we have that froggy introduction to look forward to. In the pages of DC Comics, when Leslie Tompkins was first introduced into the world of Batman, she was running a clinic for Gotham City's poor. Those clinics were funded by Bruce Wayne and became Lee Tompkins' base of operations as she was eased into the world of Batman. The introduction of just such a clinic on Gotham brings TV's Lee Tompkins one step closer to her comic book counterpart. Gotham Season 4 Episode 7, A Day in the Narrows. Tommy Elliott last appeared on Gotham as a random Draco Malfoy-like bully who gets his ass kicked by a young Bruce Wayne. This does not sync up with the comics because in the DC publishing universe, Elliott was close friends with Bruce during their childhoods. Now, it seems that Bruce and Tommy take their first steps on the road to friendship. Of course, when he gets older, Elliott will become Hush, the deformed and bandaged master of disguise that plagued Batman in the classic Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee Batman story arc Hush.